Hi, Phil. Thank you very much for taking the time. Really appreciate you doing this. I know that you've been doing it on very actively on Instagram and so forth, which is fantastic to see that you're giving back to the fans, and this is great. So what we want to do today is a little bit different. We want to really take a deep dive into your guitar kind of like biography in a way to see how did it all started for you, but looking at the gear, focusing more on the tools that you've used to get that sound that everybody's familiar with. Cool.
Okay, sounds great. I never get really to talk about that, so this is really cool.
Sounds
okay,
great.
So fantastic. So before we go to the history of the gear, like as you know, a lot of guitarists that we all respect, admire, and adore, from Mick Ronson with his famous Les Paul, and then you have as well Ritchie Blackmore with his like famous Black Strat, and Clapton with his Blackie, and then moving on as well to Brian May with his Red Special. All these guys had only worked with one guitar.
Right.
So how come you had to change throughout the year? So how did it all start? Like, why didn't you find yourself being in relationship or having a bond with just one guitar?
It's a quest. And I've played 3 of those guitars you mentioned, by the way. I played Brian May's original one. He's let me play that a few times. Mick Ronson's Les Paul, I played that on stage, and actually I met Mick years ago in a pub and he was playing it. I was like, couldn't believe it. And he said, yeah, have a go. And although I didn't play Blackmore's Black Strat, I got my Black Strat Felix because of Ritchie Blackmore, and he ended up playing it when we jammed at the Marquee years ago. So it was like, whoa, this is so, it's kind of full circle. But back to the other thing, I think there's always a sound you have in your head. And, my first guitar was a Gibson SG 200, which was an entry-level Gibson, which had 2 single-coil pickups. And I remember even at 16, I was like, when I first plugged it in, I was like, it's not got that sound that I'm hearing in my head. I know, Blackmore and Hendrix are playing single-coil pickups, the Strats, but this isn't quite doing what I'm hearing. And so I put a humbucker on it, which was kind of, and then all of a sudden, that was the sound. And so I've still got that guitar as my first guitar. And then everything else is kind of versions of that. You try different things out. I mean, I love Telecasters for a very different reason. I use them a lot on recording because it's a thinner sound and it kind of blends perfectly with a humbucker. So this quest, I was still going on, and I hate name dropping, but I'm going to anyway because it's very relevant. But I met Eddie Van Halen on their first headline UK tour.
Cool.
And I was playing my Felix that had single coil pickups, and I'm going, man, I love this guitar, and it's still not. He said, well, you'll never be happy until you put a humbucker in the bridge position. And it's like, well, that's coming from the master, because he kind of started the whole hybrid Strat revolution. Yeah. It was a sound of a Les Paul with a feel of a Strat or a feel of a Fender, and things that you could do both with. And it's an ongoing process. It's the wood, like a PC1 to me is the perfect thing. It's mahogany body, maple top like a Les Paul, but it's got a maple neck and most times a maple fingerboard like a Strat or a Tele. And then I found that I really liked heavier, fatter necks, and that kept growing. A regular Fender. I've actually got my latest PC1. I got this last year. Actually, this year. This is a walnut.
Yes.
I've been using it actually. I've been recording with it, and it's got DiMarzio. I don't know if you can see that. It's a Sugar Chakra in the middle there, and an X2N. Thing sounds amazing. I haven't got the FU tone stuff on it yet, the titanium, but it's getting there, this one. And I find that I keep going back to the same thing, and it's the same with amplifiers. I like a lot of gain on the stuff. I always crank that up, and you return to this sound you have in your head that sometimes you do. Like, again, another name drop thing. I jammed with Gary Moore for an hour. We toured once years ago, and I was in his dressing room, and I said, "Wow, is that Peter Green's Les Paul? Is that the famous
one?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said, "That's it." He says, "You want to play it?" And it's the same. It's like absolutely, you know. And he had heavier strings, and I was using like 9s or something on that tour. That was Pyromania, and he had 10s on it. And we jammed for an hour, and I got a blister on my finger off this green Les Paul. But I loved the way it felt. It was chunkier. You could hit it hard. I'm an aggressive player, so I like the response of when you really hit it hard. It kind of it responds in kind. You know, it does this real power thing. And fat neck on it, obviously a 59 Les Paul.
Yeah.
You know, and the strings. So I kept upgrading up. Like necks got fatter.
Yeah, I mean, we love it.
Got heavier.
Cool. Well, because if you didn't keep it going, then we wouldn't have anything to like pine for and be excited about. So like every time you bring something new on stage or something comes out on NAMM, I'm always excited about it because I'm like, yes. But you mentioned amps, and we weren't really going to talk too much about amps because I kind of know your history with amps. But there's this, I represent a lot of kind of hardcore gear enthusiasts. Yeah. And there's this war raging on about, digital versus, Valve. And, you mentioned Eddie Van Halen and, that's the iconic, Marshall cranked until it's going to explode type of thing. So how do you feel about, because you've been playing blues with Delta Deep. I mean, you play a variety of music. I mean, have you gotten over the analog thing? I mean, are you feeling that?
Oh, years ago. I love it. And again, my favorite 50-watt Marshall was a girl head that I played through. It was just a 50-watt. You plugged it in, kind of like the old Michael Schenker amps.
Right.
That's really what I was trying to replicate. Was that kind of vibe, and it was great. And when I joined Def Leppard, I plugged that in. They had everything mic'd up, and I just put that on top, plugged it in, and that's the solos that like Photograph,
amazing,
Fall in Rock of Ages. That's the sound, and it was very instant. I loved the thing. It got stolen, and so, but it was a bit clear. I still wanted something a bit fatter, and then and dirtier. I actually went to I was using a little Digitech thing, which was a multi-effects guitar unit. And I listen back to some of the stuff, and I really can't tell the difference. It still sounds like me. The guitar, the metal pick, the style of playing, and that just comes through on everything. So it's really on how it makes you feel, how it responds. Like if you're playing something, you're going, well, I'm really struggling with this. It's making me play in a different way. It's not my perfect thing. I don't like switching presets. I mean, I have all this stuff live, obviously. The Delta Deep thing is really interesting. I used a Black Star ID 80, which is 60, 80? I
think it's 60, yeah.
60 combo, right? It's a one little speaker combo. The thing's amazing. I like the fact that I can actually turn the guitar down. Like instead of going for these presets and always a clean sound, it's still coming from that one source. And again, Gary Moore used to do it. Eddie Van Halen used to do it. A lot of the blues guys, they would turn it down. They wouldn't have effects. Obviously, in Def Leppard, we have to. We've got a bridge section coming up in Animal or something. I'm playing something different. And John Zolko, my tech's like, changed. And then we got these ramps, and I have to run out. There's no way I'd be, tied to a pedal board. I wouldn't be able to make it in time.
Yeah.
And I'm the worst pedal board switcher on earth. Like if you even the Delta Deep stuff, the Man Ray stuff, I'm hitting the wrong, and I've only got 4 presets on these amps. I'm like hitting the wrong one constantly, just all the wrong timing. I get distracted, unless I can sing and play guitar, but the other stuff, it's like, don't distract me because I'm kind of somewhere else. So that's the reason I don't do that. I've still, I used that Marshall JMP, which I thought was amazing. I used that with different effects over the years. I used that thing for 20 odd years and tried everything else out, and it still wasn't doing it for me. The fact that until we done the G3 tour and John Petrucci got the first prototype of the Mark III fractal,
right? Yeah,
Axe effects, and I heard him playing it, and I thought, wow, that sounds amazing. What is that? He said, you got to check this out. Plug your guitar in. So I plugged my Strat in, the blue one, and it was phenomenal. There was all the road guys and everyone's just asking me to play Def Leppard riffs on it because it had so much potential. It was an upgrade. It was different to the one that came before, which I was using anyway.
Right.
With Def Leppard anyway. So we went over to that, and actually everyone did. Everyone was like, it's so simple. It's so light. You haven't got to have all these cabs. I'm using all these 2 atomic speakers, which are 500 watt each. They're tiny.
Yeah.
We can do stadiums with them, and they're loud and
going through the PA. Okay.
And I still have the thing where I turn the thing down and it still responds. I mean, some amps get muddy, some guitars get muddy. You turn them down, it's like, ugh. It loses its natural thing. So that's one of the things I'm looking for, something that sounds and feels natural.
Wow, that's a big endorsement. Yeah, Fractal for sure. Yeah,
it is. But I can still do the same on the Black Star amps as well. I can turn them down. A lot of modern amps, you don't always have that capacity. You know, sometimes it's you have to change a preset, and I don't like that. I like the fact that I can play the guitar. That's the important thing. So in a nutshell, it's that natural thing. It's the fact that you can turn the guitar down. It responds when you turn it down. It gets light. You can make it sound like a jazz guitar. It can get funky. Like these PC ones are incredible. I was actually doing some recording before the COVID thing hit, and I was playing it back. I was doing this stuff with my friend, and I could have swore that it was a Telecaster or a Strat.
Wow.
Like real 70s funk sounds. And I'm like, I was shocked that I was able to get that out of the PC one.
Well, we were going to ask you about that. We had a question about the middle pickup, which people have a love-hate relationship. And by the way, I get so many questions on Instagram about, do I hit the middle pickup when I pick? Because people think it gets in the way. I don't. But so people were just curious about, how much do you personally use the middle pickup, which is one of the questions that we've had.
Right. So in Def Leppard, I don't, unless we're recording. I actually was using it the other day. And again, I've changed. I've gone for these, it's my signature DiMarzio, the Sugar Chakra.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But I'll just show you something actually while we're here, because it's exactly what I hit that pickup all the time. I'm always scraping it, and this is actually my most recent guitar. It's a Fender Strat. Alex Perez at Fender, he's made me 2 of these necks, and he copied the exact PC specs on a Fender. So this neck. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's amazing. But I don't know if you can see this middle pickup.
Okay.
Yes. You see all the holes on it?
Uh-huh. It's a little blurry.
All the paint's chipped off, because that's exactly what I do.
Oh, you do hit it? Okay.
All the time. I've got, this is one of my older ones here. I'm doing this because I'm recording all the time. But this is the HS. So I'm always hitting that as well. You see, I don't know if you can see there's a mark below the pickup where the...
Oh, okay.
But I like that. I hit it really low, so it's a less powerful pickup, but it's really cool when you combine it with the humbucker or even the neck pickup.
Okay.
You can get these tones that
if
dream about. It's like honestly, and I know a lot of people, they plug in, it's kind of underpowered. It doesn't really do much. When you get it right, and again, it's me turning the guitar down. It's not a different preset. It's turning the guitar down, wedging it between the humbucker and that, or it on its own. And it can be the HS or the Sugar Chakras. I'm getting these really unique tones out of them that I've never even heard before. So that's different. But
any particular live song that people can relate to, say that, so you're using the middle pickup on that particular song in that section. So people go like, oh, now I get the sound that Phil is getting on that pickup, and how can I use it for?
The middle bit on Slang, where it goes, it has a breakdown. There's all these Latin percussion parts coming. I think I attempt it on that sometimes. Yeah. So if you hear, actually, if you heard the live in Vegas, the last one, that's that section right there.
I have one of the walnut PC ones with the gigantic tree trunk necks.
Yeah,
I have to use two hands to hold it. But it has the sugar chakra in the bridge, and it's an amazing sounding pickup. It's super punchy, super clear. And my thought was I would love to put that in one of my existing PC ones. So is there any plans for like a traditional size sugar chakra, or is the sugar chakra what it is because it's a single coil?
That's what it was meant to be, but yeah, why not? I'll ask Larry.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Cool. That's here we go.
I love it. And I just see to myself, like, I love how that guitar sounds. I would love to bring that pickup into some of my other PC ones,
Right. No, because it's unique. Because it's got more middle to it than I roll a lot of the mids off of my amp.
Okay.
Personally, and what's interesting, like Ronan McHugh, who records our albums, does us live. He adds it back in, but it's for me playing. It's back to that thing again. It's like, what makes you happy? Like I know some people have a terrible sound. You go, oh my god, this is awful. Like famous guitar players, you go, really? That's the sound? It's like, yeah, but the engineer dials something else in. And I know Ronan sneaks some middle back into the sound when he gets it out front. But me personally, my source for playing it is not that. It's but again, having said that, this pickup does that, so it sounds really different to anything else I've got. It adds a clarity to, and especially on that Strat I just showed you, the Perez. It's called what are they called? It's a new style, but of Strat, but it's called an Ultra. But this obviously the one is very different. It's unique because it's got those pickups and it's got a few-tone titanium, and it's all of this stuff. So yeah, it's got 2 or 3.
Okay, so when I'm looking at this, you're using more of the humbucker live.
Yeah.
So to replicate any of the sounds of the albums, you're doing that live, only using the hum, and sometimes you use the kind of like the neck pickup.
Yeah.
So which makes really Splatter being the most suitable guitar out there that would suit to get a live Def Leppard sound. In a way, of course, they need 100%. Your hands as well and your setup, but in a way, that's why we think Splatter is the most successful in our, like myself and Alex are agreed on that, most successful limited run PC one that was released. It's the most sought after. Everybody just fight among themselves to get one.
There's definitely reasons for that. I think so. Part of it is because of that Porn Stars episode, and like the Splatter just became famous.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. And now they're like very sought after. I think Phil, the first time I remember you playing the Splatter, if I can go back in my head, is at Viva Hysteria. I think they were already out, but they weren't completely
they were
gone.
Released in 2010.
And I got home and I said, I have to find a Splatter. And I got super lucky. I got a new old stock. There was a store in Jersey, and I got it, and it was the best decision I ever made. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So Phil, the titanium stuff, the FU tone stuff, Adam's a great guy. I watched the live stream on Instagram. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. This guitar has a lot of sparkle to it and clarity, and I was wondering how much of that is the Sugar Chakra and how much of that is the titanium.
It's again, every guitar is different. I've actually got, me and Steve had these 2 Les Pauls. They were 1 digit different serial number.
Oh,
they
cool.
sounded so drastically different, and they felt different as well. It was like, wow. One had a nicer maple top. Steve's one did, and my one sounded like hands down better, just for whatever reason. So it's resonating. It's the wood thing. The FU tone thing and it's got to be set up right as well. That's the other thing. A lot of people, they get guitars and they're dead, and they don't have to be. They can just be tweaked a little bit. The neck adjusted, the bridge and everything. And when that all lines up, and then when you put the titanium stuff in there, it's priceless. Or even brass, even like some, if you get hold of a brass bridge or something like that, that can do that, or a block, So That's different because it's walnut, obviously. All the other ones are maple as well. There's also the other difference is they've started baking the wood.
Right.
So they never used to do that. I mean, little things like I don't know if you can see that. Have you got that on there? The truss rod adjuster.
Yeah. Yep.
All these little things, they're incremental into making. Going back to that thing, the journey, the meeting people like Eddie Van Halen and going, well, and him saying something like that is really, really special because it actually changed our view. I thought that anyway because of my SG, but when he said it changed everything. And I went along with all these things. So it's little things, but an FU tone titanium bridge will definitely sparkle it up. But with that one, it's a bit hard to say because it's got it's baked.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's walnut. The other thing is there's no paint job on it per se, so you've got
breeze.
It really breathes. So again, if you're the better guitars are the ones that are kind of a bit naked as far as that goes, I think.
Interesting. Thanks.
I'm going to take you back a little bit in time. So you mentioned Van Halen Pyromania Tour. So at that time, you were using the Ibanez Destroyer.
Yes.
So why did the relationship didn't continue with them? Is it because you're still thinking about that Strat sound, or?
I think, and looking back to it, we got in the studio, and this is really interesting. This is really the reason I didn't do it. I couldn't be bothered. I couldn't be asked to take the thing out of the case. It's so big. It was so chunky. It looks great. I don't know. I love flying V's, but I hate playing them. You have to stand up. I've got a 70s knockoff Ibanez flying V, and this thing is one of the nicest guitars I've ever played of anything. It just, the neck on it. Again, I use it on the solo on Over My Dead Body, Man Raised. It's that. It's got a DiMarzio PAF, and then the Ibanez pickup in the neck, so whatever that was. So it's fantastic. It's really cool, but it's so awkward to play. And when we started doing Hysteria, writing it, Mutt had this Jackson. And he said I couldn't put it down. I was like, well, this is really awesome. He said, well, I'll phone the guy and see if we can get you one. So he got in touch with Grover Jackson. They sent out my first, well, it was a Charvel actually, but it was gorgeous. It had it has. I've got it here actually.
Oh wow!
It's got a Kayla on it. Again, which I've moved from that as well, to sound wise and vibration wise. But having said that, Felix had a Kayla. All that Hysteria stuff was all done on a Kayla.
So Felix is obviously a guitar that you've been showing on Instagram a lot and kind of, educating people about. I got to be honest, even as a hardcore fan, I wasn't aware that guitar was so important to you, especially to Hysteria. So the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, when are you going to make that a NAMM limited run? That's the first thing that happens to us crazy guitar fans,
Well, it should be. I've got it here as well, actually. I'll dig that out. But that's been through changes. I mean, like, just drastic stuff, because it got lost, went to China after the girl tour, and come back. He used to have, I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Two dots, yeah.
Yeah. Hang on a sec. So this is it at the moment. It's got the FU tone. It's got 3 sugar chakras.
I love that.
This broke, because this used to be a Kayla. So we put this in there. I think Stan Schiller did this. And after a while, the wood snapped there. And, everyone at Jackson, I took it in there, because it's a Fender. It's the Fender factory.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, my God, this. They said, oh, we'll just get you a new body. I said, no, this is the guitar. And my mum got it for me for my, 1978 or whenever it was, my 21st birthday. So Mike Shannon said, oh, shit, I could fix that easy.
Awesome.
So I could do that. So he, I don't know if you can see, there's barely see it, but there's a line there. So
okay.
He put some, this is Swamp Ash, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The wood. But I think he put some other kind of like hard rock maple, something crazy in there. And it's got these really stupid frets as well. It's got the what are they called? The 6000s. I'm not really sure. But anyway, you know, it used to have 3 bolts. You know, that
70s, yeah.
More secure, obviously.
Yeah.
You can see it's still in great shape, and it just sounds
awesome.
amazing.
Okay, that's a great idea for a limited run.
Absolutely. I think it's something to be even just for fans that are really interested in not replicating, but going for something iconic to say the Hysteria guitar.
Right.
Because it is the Hysteria guitar. If everything is recorded on the album, used and played on that piece,
yes,
of like the axe, then absolutely it should be something. It's up to Jackson, so hopefully Jackson will be interested in this.
There you go. I'll ask him.
So I'm moving to that because I'm intrigued now, genuinely intrigued. You said, right, you grabbed the Charvel and you absolutely loved and you played it.
Yes.
But then we got the archtop. How did that come about?
That was because
it's completely different.
Well, because everyone was playing Strat hybrids. Everyone, every company, you know, all of them, all of the ESP, everyone, Hamer, everyone was making a Strat shape. And I just wanted something different. I wanted something that actually had a slightly different thing. That was really hard to get going. I mean, Grover Jackson would come out I remember we was rehearsing in Glens Falls, New York, and he'd come out to the hotel, and we'd be, go into the conference room in a little hotel and draw this thing on the thing, all these sheets of paper for a few years actually, and I've got the guitar upstairs that's still got all the pencil marks on it. So it's like just to make it different. So that was really that whole thing. It was just to be so different to everything else.
And you decided to go for the neck screw setup rather than the bolt-on, as again something different.
Again, my Crackle was a neck through. It was a soloist, and that had a really expensive feel about it. I was talking about it the other day because there was Carlos Cavazo, who was in Quiet Riot. He had one. It was identical, but it had a third pickup. And his one got stolen. I remember it was so, when he told me, he said, "My God, my guitar's gone." I was like, "No way, man." He's like, that's what it kept us going together. There's a relationship because of that. But his one got stolen. And my one's actually in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now in Cleveland.
It's amazing.
With the original Destroyer. That's there as well.
So the archtop, so we went from the archtop to kind of the dinkies, right? Like we had the adrenalized dinky and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, and then I guess then it went into the era of the PC1. Is that?
It is, yeah. And again, all these things influence different things. I had a Hamer Sustainiac, and I actually used it on Pearly Euphoria at the end of it, all the solo and all the sustain stuff. That was that guitar. And I think work it out. I was using I wanted that, but I wanted it on one of my guitars, and Stan Schiller, who was my tech at the time, he said, "Man, you don't need dots." I'm like, "Well, it's kind of a bit hard if I get stuck." He said, "Well, no, you'll be fine." So we got a customized guitar, and it was, maple top. Again, it was it was maple top, mahogany back, maple neck. Back then, it wasn't so fat, and I didn't realize that that's really what I wanted. And they just kept growing. The necks kept growing. Again, all these little increments, like even on a Fender, on a Strat, a regular Strat, I always turn this volume knob is there, and where my hand fits, it really I end up turning the guitar down. And more than one occasion when I've been playing a real Fender Strat, all of a sudden I've disappeared, and it's like, well, what's happened? Well, I've turned it down without even realizing it. So that's why the movement. So all of these things have been little things. I thought, well, what would I really want? So it's an ongoing thing. It's a quest, It's
okay. So the first PC1, let's call it the first PC1. It is the customized Strat that you received. It had a mahogany body, a maple top of some sort. But what sort of setup did you go for initially? Was it a single hum, or was it a 2 hum?
No, it had the sustainer because again that was influenced by the Hamer Sustainiac. It was like, oh, I love that. It would be great if it was on a piece a Jackson. So it had the Floyd. So it had more. It would ring. It was all about sustain and getting more sustain. And I think the very first one, if I'm not mistaken, was Kermit. And then I had a solar one that they had at NAMM, and that.
I have the third one.
Oh God! Wow.
So you have Kermit 1, Kermit 2. I have Kermit 3.
I have Kermit 0. I have no 0. I have no Kermits. Hey,
but it's really interesting Sorry, I'm just trying to get the understanding the final product that you end up with, as in that's it. This is the one that I really want. This is me, the PC one.
It's that one there. Yeah. That you just showed, that was it, basically, yeah.
So, Phil,
fantastic.
On the sustainer, I just want to go back to the sustainer for a second. So, I'll never forget hearing the opening of Gods of War. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, period. It's the song I go to when I want the, whatever. And it has the sustain in the beginning, which I believe is an EBow, right? Was that an EBow? Or was that
Yeah, there's some stuff like that. Was an EBow, but then other things I would stand. Yeah, Steve was playing a lot of that. All of that stuff was an EBow. Yeah.
So whose idea was it to bring the EBow in? Because we have like the intro to Bite Lightning, which has got the sustainer going on. It has really become such an important part of your signature sound. The sustainer. Everyone says Phil Collins sustainer. So when you were being creative in the studio, I mean, how did that come about? Did someone suggest using it, or was it?
Me and Steve were really fascinated with like Adrian Belew and getting all these kind of really weird, like Heroes, David Bowie. I think it's Robert Fripp on the. It's either Fripp and yeah, exactly. But when Adrian Belew did it, he didn't use an EBow. He done something. I don't even know what it was, but we liked the sound, and so we tried to get that. And one of the great things about the EBows is you could make a keyboard sound or an orchestra like a violin sound, if you tracked it up. Like on Hysteria, the song Hysteria, there's tons of it all over the place.
Wow.
But that was done on Felix. It was just me holding the band EBow and away we go. So that was something obviously wanted to be able to have access to. And when after I saw that yellow Hamer sustainer, which I've got upstairs, it done that thing. It was like, oh my God, this is another one of those things. If I had that on this guitar, it could do this as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was noticing other actually guitar players are doing the same. Steve Vai had a sustainer installed on his guitars, and as well Satriani.
Well, Sinister Gates has one from Avenged Sevenfold, and a lot of people have. I have one more sustainer question, because I own a lot, and the sustainer, like, you have a great command over the sustainer, but as a non-pro, if you don't control the sustainer, especially when you're soloing, because there's so much output, it's almost an art form unto itself. And I think that, there's obviously an element of you controlling the sustainer. So in terms of how you do that, I mean, is there finesse to it? Is there a certain approach to it?
It has to be set up right. Again, this guitar, I was doing a solo with this yesterday, actually, recording, and this one's set up great. You just have to tweak it till it's right, because it can take off and go, and it's like,
right, exactly.
So once you get the thresh, the little thing where you adjust it, you have to do that first. You have to get the adjustment right. That little thing down there, that's in there, the light comes on and all that. You have to get that right. So sometimes they work straight away. The rest of the time, I have it on mostly all the time, because it's part of the expression. Sometimes I just want it to sustain or feedback or just a gradual feedback. So they're all pretty much set up the same. Like John Zocco knows how to do it. Scotty Appleton, like I said, they do at Jackson, because I get this stuff and it works straight away. It's like,
yeah.
Wow.
I was watching yesterday. I was watching Live in Vegas, and particularly the song "Billy Got a Gun." And I'm looking at how you're changing the sustainers, going like, how is he doing that? Just to see, like, do you always have it on, or do you turn it off? It's like, Because when I try to
I
play with it, I only have it on all the time, and then it's not the same for me.
Don't have the high one on. I only have that on for solos. So the rest of the time, I'd have it on. Actually, a lot of the time I have them both on, and I just kind of, I guess, deal with it and get around it. And it's cool. It's like it's not really a challenge anymore. It's kind of it. You can get the guitar. I can get it to speak to what I want it to say. It's almost like being a language. It's like, you want it to do this. And what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you're in the middle of I don't know, a Dutch market, I don't know, they can't understand a word. They can, because a lot speak English there. But you go, I'm trying to get this over, and I think with the sustainer, as an extra thing that you want to express or you want to get over. So that's I've got used to having it on all the time, so I can just reel it off.
Cool. As Alex pointed out, every time there's a NAMM show, all the PC fans are going, okay, I wonder what we're going to have next. So far you had 7 kind of runs. The first one is not really a run, but you had the Ash Body in 2002, sorry. You had an Ash Body. There's only 5 guitars or 6 guitars made. You own 3. I have 1. Brooks have 1. And someone is out there in the world. They're brilliant. I love them. But you don't play it anymore.
Right. They move on, and I get favorites. And usually my later ones become my favorites, because they're incrementally better than the one before. You know, it's if I'd have just said, okay, this is, even like say a Les Paul or a Strat, there's so many different versions of them, or a Telecaster even. You know, you can get a thin neck Tele, you get a thin line with an F hole in it, and you can get all these different versions of it, and it's a growth. It's kind of it just kind of it keeps grinding, kind of turning and morphing into something else.
So the innovations basically are seen in the NAMM shows in a way. So in 2010, we had the Splatter 30 made, plus there's about 10 of them artist proof, and they're the most popular one, as we mentioned before. Then you had the Ninja in 2014, 50 of them. There's 25 with maple neck and 25 with ebony, I believe. And then in 2015, there was the DX, when Alex has one of these. They're the natural one, but just they had a neck through.
Right.
And again, maybe where you're going for, let's see what the PC one would sound like with the neck through setup.
Absolutely. And I like them, but I think I prefer the bolt-on, which is kind of weird.
Interesting.
On a PC one, I prefer the bolt-on neck. And I don't know what that is, you know, because going back to what I said about the crackle, you know, that was a neck through, and it felt expensive and all that stuff. I always used to, I read a interesting thing, Richie Blackmore, I think it was years ago. And he said, yeah, Les Paul's great. It's like really expensive. And a Strat seems a bit cheaper, and you have to fight with it a bit more. And I thought it was a weird thing to say, but I kind of understood what he said, because the you know, some of the Les Pauls, it's arched and it's neck through, and it's a lot of work goes into it. And I think a Fender's a bit cruder, but it gives you something else. It gives you another feeling. And again, like I said, I'm a huge Telecaster fan, and I've actually got a Jackson Telecaster that's amazing.
This is the thing. I remember in 1999 in Dublin, I remember that you played a PC1, a Tele PC1, all red with a quilted maple top. And then in 2016, I believe you had one in Tokyo at the Classic Rock Awards. It was all an ash body PC1 kind of Tele.
Yes.
Are you toying with us, or are you toying with the idea that, you know what, we might release a Tele PC1 in the future?
That would be awesome. I mean, you know, we did speak about it, but it's getting Jackson to get on that. You know, it's like it would be interesting, but they I think that the you know, someone was mentioning the Bela Lugosi one. I think they wanted to do a run on that.
Oh, and that'd be fantastic. So it is possible maybe that Jackson would be considering or taking into account, like, say, if there was some sort of pre-order of a limited edition one where fans will say, okay, look, put my name, I'll give you a down payment, and when you have 20 of them released, I'll get it.
I think that would work. So I'll mention that. And again, you know, what would be really cool is to say, what guitars would you want to run off? And you know,
I have some. So I am waiting every year for the Xtroyer with the 3 pickups and the sustainer. To me, that is like, that's the one that I think people are most dying to have.
Now, I've got 2 of them. The one I've been playing lately, which is phenomenal. I got a X2N on it. It's got the kill switch. It's matte black.
Yeah.
There's that one, or I've got it here. Hang on a second. Or the one that's maple and mahogany body. That one.
Oh, yeah, they're both amazing.
So this is a neck through, obviously.
Yes.
And heavy, I'd say.
It is heavy. You can see the maple on there.
Yeah.
Lovely quilt.
It's gorgeous, and it's got my other one's got the really super fat frets on it, and it's matte black, and you know, and it's got X2Ns. And
is it true that you're not using the middle pickup?
On that one, I don't. Yeah, this one I think works. The other one I took off because I only play it live, and it kind of I just wouldn't play that at all. I wouldn't try and get sound. I mean, you can get some amazing sounds.
Would you record with it or not? No.
This one, the reason this is out is it sounds so classic. It's got a real different sound about it. It sounds more like a classic Les Paul. Actually, this one, and the other one's made of basswood, and so it's lighter, and it's got more of a shred. I'm trying to describe it. Actually, it's got more of it sounds like more like a Michael Schenker type tone. The other one, it's got this is so great for rhythm, and it's just a bit smoother and kind of thicker. You know,
that's amazing. Yeah, that would be great as a limited run. We would be really excited about that for sure.
Yeah.
So all these limited runs, the recent ones we had, the 2016, the shreds, which we adore and love because everybody seems to be fighting for them. There's only 12 made of these ones with a baked body and a baked neck. Gorgeous. I didn't like them initially, but I was sold with the idea of a 2-hum PC one. Like, that's it. I need to get one. And I have it. So it's here somewhere. I absolutely adore it. And then you had the walnut one. And that completely was surprising because it's a no-hum. It's a 3-single. But because of the new pickup.
It's being different for it. But it was still a sound that I wanted to get. I wanted to get kind of a not so over the top sound. It wanted something a little clearer. So it sounded a bit more Strat-esque.
Can we say maybe it's a tribute to Felix? A PC1 tribute to Felix is what the walnut is all about.
It kind of is, It is. I wouldn't have said that, but yeah, I'd agree, actually, especially as it's got the same now. I mean, that's got the same pickup set up as that anyway. So, yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. And the last one that you just showed us here, the 2020 Dark Walnut. Why? We've done a walnut before.
Yes.
Kind of like just being very honest fan and a collector of guitars.
Yeah.
Why we're doing a kind of a similar one, but the only changes here is a similar setup to a standard PC one, but a walnut body.
That was, they said, oh, check this out. It wasn't like I really want a walnut one. But I think one of the questions that they got at Jackson was, yeah, this is great, this walnut one, but we want the humbucker. We want the standard PC1 humbucker.
That was from the customer's point of view, as in the people, or Jackson themselves.
I got that from Jackson, but because they wanted something that was more like that, but more like the original one with the humbucker. But this isn't anyway, because it's got the different neck. It hasn't got a maple fingerboard.
Well, I have one on order, so I'm happy. So
it sounds great.
And
you got the X2Ns on it.
Okay, cool.
I don't know whether you ordered that, because I don't know, but my one, I actually had that put on.
Yeah, I think it's whatever the spec is for the batch. I don't remember having a choice, but I'm excited for it, for sure.
Finally, just to say about the whole limited runs is, who comes up with the ideas? As in every year, okay, can we try something new? Is it between yourself and Jackson? Or do you listening to fans? Or you just think, you know what, I would love this?
It's a bit of both. I mean, I think the Bela Lugosi one, only because, there we go, because everyone comes up with that. And some of the things I go, oh, I like this one. And then they do a limited run of it.
Okay.
So that's like...
This one's gorgeous. I mean, I think of all of my PC ones from a playability standpoint, I think this has the best neck. There's something about it. I love it.
I agree. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Fantastic.
I love that. I've played that a lot, actually. And I haven't retired it, but, you know, I'm going to be just playing some different ones. Just, you know, we were supposed to be on tour right now, obviously. And
yeah. I had tickets. I had the tickets to see you guys at, what is it, in Jersey?
Oh, right.
And I was so psyched. I got like 19th row, and I was like, this is going to be the best show ever.
Man.
You know? But, you know...
Whenever it is, next year, so hopefully.
I think one of the things I was curious about, being a fan of the band for so long and being with you guys through, you know, the 90s and all the stuff that happened with music taste changing. I can't quite place it, but there was a moment where you guys just blew up again in a way. You know what I'm talking about? Like, the shows got bigger and bigger, and I was watching stuff like you guys playing Chicago, and and I was seeing these huge stadiums, and I you know, I've been here with you guys from the beginning, so I know there were some times in the 90s and whatever. So what do you subscribe to that? Like, do you think that there was something that you guys did specifically that made that happen, or was it just karma?
No, we absolutely are saying specific. Howard Kaufman, a manager who passed away, Mike Kobayashi was actually his intern for like 11 years. He actually worked with him. So Mike's running the whole thing now, which is great. But Howard used to say, last man standing, last band standing. Everyone kind of gives up. They stop. We record not because we want to have a smash hit album, because no one can make any money on a thing, but it's lifeblood to an artist. It is a reality and an integrity. If you stop doing, it's great when the Stones put an album out. They don't have to put an album out, but it's really cool. It actually means that there's a bit of care and stuff, and you're still into it. We had that kind of approach to everything. We wanted the shows to be better and bigger. We just sat it out. We just kept going, and then it started growing.
Yeah,
and that was the theory behind it. It was the last man or last band standing. When people, like, you know, they fall to pieces, they have arguments, it's silly, petty things. We didn't do that. We were like, you know, the band is the important thing. Let's just keep doing it, keep touring, keep doing this thing. And it will come round, and it really did. And that's really what happened. And I saw the same thing happen with Fleetwood Mac as well, because it was like, you know, it was whatever. Christine McVie came back in, Stevie Nicks was back in, and all of a sudden it was like, they just done their biggest tour ever. Last year they played 2 nights at Wembley Stadium. They could have never have done that. You know, this is like this little band, you know, from the East End of London. Peter Green from Bethnal Green. It's like, all of a sudden, you know, it's gone from there to there. So that's really the approach that we adopted, and it's keeping relevant, it's keeping real, and keep loving what you're doing. And I think it works great, because it's, why not? I mean, I love it.
I mean, listen, the fans appreciate new music. I mean, I you know, when you guys put out a new album, to me, it's like you're putting out it's really exciting. And some of my favorite Def Leppard songs are from what I call like the post-Trilogy era. And I keep evangelizing people. And I'm like, if you have not heard Paper Sun, it's one of the best Def Leppard songs ever written. If you have not heard this, if you have not heard that. So, you know, I'm always evangelizing just how amazing some of the music is that you guys have put out, you know, after kind of the Trilogy era. So we appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And this is, in a way as well, echoes into interest from people going, oh yeah, I'm interested in Def Leppard. I want to go and get a PC1 or a guitar or something like that, because we're seeing more and more I remember the day when our mutual friend Brooks started this recording, documenting the archtops, the destroyers, the PC ones in back from '99, I think, and throughout the early 2000s. And that's what got me going, like, oh yeah, I need to get a guitar as well. Yeah, I'm going to buy one. So I started doing these things, and now it's getting bigger and bigger with Alex managing the Facebook page and the Instagram thing. Loads of people are interested in these guitars. But there's a big shift happened. I think it was maybe a couple of years ago, maybe 2011, when you completely ditched the PC one and you went for the PCSupreme.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
What was the idea behind that? I know people weren't that didn't warm up to the idea of the PCSupreme, and they're like, "What is that? We're not sure. Just go back to the PC one." What prompted you to go?
Well, I still do. It's a different feel. You know, it's like I play them lower. They're so heavy and so thick, and the sound of them is just so. And especially since I put X2Ns on them. The fattest neck I've got, or the fattest neck that Jackson have ever made, is on the red.
The red one.
Red,
I held it before. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's great. So, and I love playing it on tour. You know, I'm actually going to take the maple one out next year. I've got. Although, you know, before all this went down, they were customizing one for me with another ridiculous, stupid neck on. So. I don't know what's happening, because, you know, the world is, you know, press pause at the moment. So I don't know. Although, you know, we've got a year to get that together. So we'll see. So if not, it'll be the maple one that I take out with me. No, so I like them both. I prefer, for want of a better word, it's like having a Les Paul and a Strat.
Okay. So it's Phil's version of a Les Paul and Phil's version of a Strat.
Yeah, if you like. For want of a better, if you're coming into it, yeah. I mean, it's an extreme. They're both like testosterone versions of both. You know, the Supreme is just. For rhythm guitar, I played it the other day on a solo, and the maple one has just got it's set up so well, and you wouldn't think so, this chunk of wood, but you get up the neck, it's perfectly in tune all the way up. It's because the neck, I guess, is so thick and it won't move. There's no kind of way that's gonna kind of go out at all, you know what I mean? So that's another one of the reasons that I love Flash.
But there are not going to be any plans to re-release them or reintroduce them as a kind of like a general release for the public.
I don't think so. People didn't warm to it at all. I was the only one who kind of like dug it, to be quite honest.
I'm hunting one.
I'll take one. Yeah, I'll take one.
Yeah. They're cool. So I'm going to say there's a new one that they're customizing for me. That Mike Shannon's actually started. I mean, that's the thing.
Okay, so from one extreme of a really customized Supreme and a PC one, let's go to the lower end. Let's say we had the PC2, we had the PC3 for a while, but they didn't have the sustainer. But in general, the different pickups as well. Similar kind of body construction, but just different, and they didn't go anywhere. But people seems to be asking now, like we got one or two questions on from people on the Facebook page, that is there any plans for a Japanese import or a PC one?
I don't think so. I think there's you just have to see what becomes popular. I think it'd be good to do new versions of them, and I had an idea for like a really an entry level one, but we'll see what happens with that one. Just like
keep it secret.
Just lesser wood, less expensive. So it's kind of, but you know, we'll see, because you'd have to. So great. It still has to kind of feel and I'll give you a great example. I just recently got I played a song years ago on I'd done this solo on I've got this Squire Telly that I got in Dublin, actually, at Music Maker. And this thing, I pull it out. I use it now. I've used it on Def Leppard records. I've used it every now and again. I pull it out. It's like, geez, this thing is amazing. I got a Squire Starcaster. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I know that.
Fender had it was their answer to Gibson's 330, 335, 355, the semi-body but this was a bolt-on neck, and it really died a death. It came out in the 70s, and no one really, I'd never even played one, and I saw Squire had re-released it, and so I ordered one. It was like $308. This thing come out the box, tuned it up, blew me away.
Wow.
I've recorded on it. It's going to be on new stuff. It's a very specific sound. It's semi-acoustic, so it's a sound I didn't really have. Have you heard Marcus King? You heard of
Yes.
Marcus King?
Yes.
So he plays the 335. He's got a great tone. He's got a thing, and I was thinking, wow, I haven't got that sound in the States. I've got one in storage somewhere in England or something. I've got my 330, which is awesome. I don't have a semi-acoustic guitar, so I got this thing just to try it out. Blew me away. It was like the sound that I couldn't get out of other stuff, and it was a Squire, and it just tuned up. It was, it sounds great. It feels great, and I use it. I haven't changed the strings yet. Still got like 10s on it or something.
And you guys are using the Acoustasonics, obviously, on the last tour, and it seems like the whole band likes playing those.
It's such a great thing, because for years I hate DI'd acoustics because it just sounds fake and false. The Acoustasonic plays like an electric, but you can get sounds that don't sound like DI. It's got something else. So, and it doesn't feed back, and it doesn't do all of this stuff. It's the perfect live acoustic. And just in general, it's just really great for other things as well.
You had a guild, I think, a custom guild,
Yes.
signature model years back. It was very, very limited. There's
The
a
black
few
one,
of them,
right?
Yeah.
The Noir. Yeah, I've got it. I was playing it the other day, actually.
Okay.
It's great. And again, I've got, if you put titanium or brass pegs, as opposed to the same deal with the sustain thing, you get this magic extra sustain. So I've got it on that one. I'm not sure what one's on there at the moment, but yeah, it's just awesome.
If you don't mind me asking, the transition to a bigger neck,
Yes.
fatter necks, and the heavier gauge strings, that changed your tone. It did change your even style of. So for fans listening to what was recorded, the solos in Pyromania, then looking at Hysteria and then Adrenalize, and also across up until we noticed the change, bang, from, I believe, in songs from the Sparkle Lounge or even from X onwards.
Yeah.
There was a change in your style.
Yes. I think you can. I have to show you this because this is great. I played this in Vegas, but it's along those lines. I don't know if you can see the size of that neck.
Yeah,
Oh, the frost blue.
Yeah, but that one, that's a carve an extra thing in the join there because it was so huge. This thing is gorgeous. I've got two of these. I've got one that's the regular frosted one, and this one. It makes me play different. It does all these things that are, again, the increments that just make it better. So yeah, as I guess I'm more comfortable with them, to be quite honest. That's why the playing's changed.
So do you think if you think you've gotten the biggest neck you've ever gotten, this is it, you're done, or is there still room for bigger because it's getting up there?
I think it's there. I think Brian May's guitar on his one that he built with his dad, that's pretty chunky as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think when they made the red one, the red Supreme, they were kind of joking. They said, "Oh yeah, well let's give him this one," and it wasn't really meant to be a. They didn't think I'd go, "Okay, I can't play. It's unplayable," and it wasn't. It had the opposite reaction. It just, but it's that thing. It stays perfectly. You can be so aggressive with it, and you hit it hard, and it has a different sound. Again, I've got a couple of really good guitar friends that came to Vegas, and both of them said the same thing. I've got a friend, Ben Carey, who used to play in Savage Garden and Lifehouse and all this stuff. He's Australian. He's amazing. And he said, "What's that red guitar? But what was that one you was playing?" And it's look, it was the Supreme. It was like, it just had a chunky sound that the other one didn't. It just have I frozen again?
Nope. Yeah, no, it looks awesome on stage. I mean, every time I see you play it, I'm just like, oh, I got to get one of those. And I missed the boat on that. And there was one with this beautiful maple quill top that I passed on because I think it was in Europe. And then I'm just thinking to myself, how did I do that? How did I do that? But
nobody told me.
You don't win.
If they come out again, you know, if they finish this custom one that's being made, and I take it out on tour, then maybe it'd be a different thing. I mean, it's a stadium tour. It's a different approach. So a lot more people get to see it, and they're more curious about it. So I think it would be again, like a custom run. It would be like, we're going to do 20 of these or something like that.
Cool.
Type,
yeah.
You know.
Awesome.
Okay, shifting a little bit to the first question that we had, which when it comes to amps, I know. Okay, so you do have the Black Star using the Fractal. Did that intrigue you at all to have your own custom amp?
Do I?
Yeah.
I not really. Oh, I've got the Black Star, the one that I took on the tour. Yeah.
But you say like this is the Phil Collen Black Star signature amp. You can dial in, fill sounds exactly the way you want it, or looks wise, or tone wise, or not really. You think that's it? People can get what they want basically on the amp.
I guess so. I mean, the one I took on the G3 was it was 2x12 cabs, 4 2x12 cabs, and basically what's in the ID60, a stereo version, like a 200 watt. Actually, more than that, 300 watt version of that, like stereo.
Wow.
This thing sounded unbelievable. Again, you know, when we'd all do the jam thing at the end, instead of having 4 cabs, I'd have just 2 of them. But it was really cool. It belted it out, and it was, again, you know, it was a similar sound to the live Delta Deep album. It's kind of that. And if anyone's ever seen any of the video footage in that, I used one guitar. I used like the PC one, the root beer, plugged into this thing, and it just even when I look at it back, it just blows me away. It's like, wow, that's a really great way to do. So yeah, I mean, yeah, if Black Star was going to do something like that, or the Fractal stuff, you know, it's very specific what we do with the sound. John Zocco got this thing again, you know, going back to this thing after we tried the thing with John Petrucci's one. He gave us a bunch of these patches that he'd done, like some of the presets, and then we started modifying. But John Zocco listened to the Mirrorball album and said, "Okay, I've based a sound that sounds like you from using a JMP1."
Okay.
And that's where we started. So when we started the tour with Journey, that's what I was doing. Then Sav used one. Vivian used one. Neil Shod was using one. It's just so much easier to have everything in a small. It's fairly complicated, so I think I needed John to do that for me, because he was like, and we just kept the upgrades that Fractal do really work. You know, a lot of the time you go, oh, I don't want to touch this in case it ruins a thing. Every one of their upgrades and updates to software updates makes it sound better. Like, you know, cabinet, you know, compression and stuff like that. It's like, it's a huge difference. So I can't wait to take that out again, because we just got it to a point on the Vegas, the live Vegas thing, where I actually think it's the best sound I've ever had live.
Wow.
So that was just, and it's doing that thing again, like with the guitars. It's like incrementally dialing them in or increasing certain things to your own personal preference, you know, and that's really what we did with that. And John is amazing at that. He just like kind of tweaks it nonstop, and I turn up literally and go, oh, fantastic! It sounds even better, you know. So,
would you record with it for a studio? Like, would you use it for the studio?
I would, but I think the great thing about what you can do technology-wise now, we've been using this obviously guitar rig for the last God knows how long, you know, and you can pretty much dial it all in, everything through that. Really,
I find that amazing. I really do.
Yeah, and it sounds the same. I would like to hear some of the Fractal stuff, you know, put in with that. But again, going back, you know, we've done the Tesla album. and there was that whole, well, we're going to be lacking the real amp thing, and I don't think so. We used a real amp on one part of one song, just for a thing. Everything else was done on one of these.
I love that album. It's fantastic. It's great.
Thanks.
And Frank Hannon is such a vintage kind of like classic rock kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you use Guitar Rig for that. And I got to be honest. I mean, I listened to that album again, and I'm like, I would have never known that was digital.
Yeah,
and it's getting better and better.
It is, and I think what it allows the guitar player to come through. It still sounds like Frank, and you can tell Frank and Dave play very different from each other, and you can hear it. It's like, wow, it's like, if anything, it's even purer. It's a purer expression of self. You haven't got to dick around. You're very limited a lot of the time. Back in the day when you'd go in the recording studio and you'd be miking up an amp and all of that, you're still limited. It's not that. It's kind of cut that middleman out now, you know.
Awesome.
But do you feel your writing style changed because of using Guitar Rig? So before you had to put the amp and get kind of everything set up, and then you get a different vibe of the amp or the room, the ambience of the room. Now it's different. How do you kind of the changes? I don't know. How do you measure them, or how do you?
I definitely have, and I measure it that I can actually get what I want, as opposed to, I always thought it was a compromise with a real amp. I mean, sometimes you stand in a room and you're getting this great sound, but actually to get that sound recorded, that's where the problem would come.
Oh, okay.
This sounds killer. I mean, with Mutt, it'd be like, well, this Marshall sounds great. With Mike, we spent weeks, months miking things up, and it would never. Like the smell of coffee is always better than how it tastes. When you walk past it, grinding coffee,
Depends on the coffee.
It does. It does. But it always smells better. And when a freshly cut lawn or grass, and you go, wow, that's great. But you wouldn't want to eat it. It's like, so the taste or the smell or the essence of it comes out, and you're in a room, you got this sound. You go, oh my God, this is great. It's the best sound I've ever had. Getting that on tape or getting that to the general consumption of everyone else is a different story. And I think that for me, with stuff like Guitar Rig and even Fractal, it's taken that out of it. So you can actually spend more time being the artist or the guitar player. Me personally, that's what I've found. And
it's a great endorsement, yeah.
It kind of works. And studio wise, I do so much recording on my laptop on my Mac. It's like. It cuts out the middleman. You don't have to go to a studio. And I love going to a recording studio. I think it's cool. And there's a romantic thing attached to it. And it's just great. But it's really expensive. It's really time consuming. And it like I said, it stops you. Sometimes it stops the creative process, slams it. It's dead stop. You're going, oh shit, we've got to get a higher sound. And you've stopped the flow. There's something magical about the flow of inspiration, and I find that the less you put in the way of that, the better. So if you're again, I'd done some recording yesterday. I plugged the guitar in. I had the preset that I've been using since Man Ray's albums. So same thing, exactly the same preset.
That's awesome.
And I've got Phil More Juice, it's called, and it's the solo in. I just plug that in, and it's like, wow, good to go.
Excellent.
We had one question about songwriting, because like Miss You in a Heartbeat, such an amazing song. I know that you wrote that. You have sole writing credit on that, I believe. How did you go from kind of being this guy who came in and blazed on these solos to like being a songwriter? Because I think that's not easy for a lot of people. So did it just come natural to you? Were you working at it? Like, how did that happen?
Constantly working on it. And I've just been around great people. And, I cheated a little bit because I sat next to Mutt Lang for like 4 years.
Amazing. Yeah.
So that was an opportunity that I beyond appreciate. I mean, he's the leading influence on everything, writing, guitar playing, singing. He taught me how to sing properly. I'd just be like croaking before, and it'd say, no, if you can do this, try this, end the note here, come off on the snare drum, come in on the one, just swoop on this, get it in between. I mean, it was just like masterful lessons. Only it wasn't being, you wasn't going to school. You was actually just you were trying to make the song and the sound of it better. And then when it did, you go, wow, this is really cool. And so all of a sudden that becomes your experience, and you can apply that the next time you try it. So songwriting was very much the same thing. Again, me and Joe Elliott have just been doing lately. I've just been hitting a real thing. It's just been it's like ESP. I don't know what it is, but we've been just writing songs that in a different way that we had before. And I think it's partly the experience, part of the stuff that we've had before, and just on a roll, just inspiration.
So you, I think I read an article where you had said that like people had wanted you guys to do another album with Mutt, and you had said, we kind of learned everything we're going to learn from Mutt. It's not going to be that much different if we bring Mutt back into the fold. Is that true? Do you feel that bringing Mutt back in for a full album wouldn't really change the result at this point because you guys have all of those skills now?
Not really. I mean, he's still that far ahead of us. I worked with him probably about 6 years ago. He was recording this album of this singer, this Swedish girl. She was like a teenager, and it was I don't know what happened. I don't know if it would come out. I don't think so. But we were working on it, and he was so much so advanced to where the last time I'd worked with him.
Wow.
Like singing, like he'd say, "We'll play this on the guitar," and I'd go, "Well, what these notes? You can't. That's impossible." He said, No. He said, "Do it like this," and he would just do it. He would just go, "Yeah, if you do that note," he's a different breed. It's like it's really weird. And same with the vocals. Whenever he'd done backing vocals with us, first take, and he'd multi-track it, always just perfect, just bang on.
Awesome, thank you. That's great info.
So
yeah,
being around that. So again, he'd got so much better. So even if we worked on something now, he'd bring something that we'd never seen before. I'm sure. Because even I remember he got me playing this ridiculous chord, and they go, "Yeah, now move that half a beat earlier." So it comes in, and it's like I can't even think half a beat earlier there because you got all this. And he said, "No, it's not working. Let's move it half a beat later." And you're like. And then you'd play it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then you get it and go, "Whoa, this sounds amazing!"
Fantastic.
So it'd be things like that I'd never. It's people who are so much better than you, and that have got, or not even better, but even have such a different approach and bringing it in, especially if it's cool. Like everything he does is cool. It's like
very respected guy. Yeah.
It's not like just, and it's gratuitous, like with a lot of harmonies or vocals. People, they're very gratuitous, or guitar playing, or even versions of music, like some jazz. Some of it's gratuitous, and then other stuff is feel, and it's great. And that's the guys you want to get the stuff off. Stuff that's going to inspire.
Okay, so that brings me to the last question, I believe, which is new bands or new music that you're listening to, and you think they're absolutely fantastic.
That's the hardest question.
No, not really. There's artists out there that I hear stuff and I go, "This is great," and it's like Billie Eilish is great. She does some really interesting stuff that hadn't really been done before. It's a different take. My daughter Samantha got me. She loves 21 Pilots, and she's been for years. She goes, 21 Pilots. I'm going, "So what is this then? What is this?" She said, "Well, it's two guys and da da da." And she got me into some of that. And I think I love what they do. It's a hybrid. And again, it's not gratuitous, and it's got kind of hip hop sensibility. It's got pop music. It's got a flavor. It's cool without trying to be cool, because they're just what they are. And it's these two guys that are on a roll. They've listened to everything around. They've taken all the stuff and then put their own version out. And I love that. That's kind of what Mutt did with rock music. He actually did it with country as well. It was like take all the best bits and make a pop version of it, so it's palatable to the general consumption of the population. And And that's exactly what that is. And then when I hear someone like Billie Eilish or 21 Pilots, that's what I'm hearing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Phil. Really appreciate your time talking to you.
Absolutely.
It was delightful and enjoyable. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
If you get an idea for a top 5 guitars that you would like to see a short run of, and ask anyone again, if they would do that, then I can take it to Jackson and say, look, this is what people would love to see. So again, this is a really good thing. If this is what people want to hear or see or play, that's a really good approach.
I think it's definitely from my standpoint, in terms of everything I hear from people, it's definitely the Xtroyer. There's no question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
What version?
I'm sorry, I want Bella.
The three hum black one is sick. I think with the little red, kill switch. I mean, that's the one.
All right, then there you go. When things get back to, or before they get back to normal, yeah, I'll talk to them this week. See what the scoop is.
Phil, thank you.
Cool. So they did a limited run of the Arch stuff, but they had a PC1 setup. And they made 20 of them, I think, or 25. And they were sold like that.
Check this out. It's got a sustainer in it. It's super cool. And
wow.
it's neck through. And I got to say, it's from a playability standpoint, obviously that's a super thin neck.
Yeah.
But it's unbelievable. I mean, oh my God, I plugged this thing in and it's like butter. I mean, there's just something about the tension. Everything about it is perfect. And I got to be honest, I didn't necessarily love the archtop shape back in the day. I was younger, meaning I was really young when Hysteria came out and stuff. But then I got this guitar, and I'm like, oh my God, it's one of my favorite guitars. I love it. Yeah.
But the whole point, Phil, is it was fan based, as in it wasn't released by Jackson. It wasn't initiated or created by someone other than a guy who owns a music shop. Said, guys, I love the PC archtop. I'm going to ask who's interested. We might get an order from Jackson for 25 of these and release them to the public at I think it was $2,500 or something like that a piece. And people immediately gave him $500 a kind of deposit. He put the order. It took them 2 years and they're gone. Everybody has them. So yeah. So maybe something like that, but more official from Jackson if they're interested.
Absolutely.
I think it'll work. I think it's a no risk. They'll get their money.
Totally. I agree.
And people will get what they want.
You'll sell at least one of everything, because as long as I'm here. Phil, listen, as a lifelong fan, this is such an honor and probably one of the coolest things ever happened in my life. So thank you both, guys. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all the music. It's really, it keeps people going. It keeps people moving forward. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much, Phil. Thank you. Really enjoyed this. Fantastic. Please stay safe, and we'll see you hopefully on tour next year.
Absolutely. Stay safe.